Hello and welcome to the third installment of my new video series, Cravone's Tanks. Today we'll be looking at the IS-4. This is going to be recorded in patch 9.6. Now in 9.7 they are changing the model to a HD model. However, through extensive gameplay, I've worked out that there's no gameplay differences in 9.7, so this is accurate to them. Now, everyone knows that the IS-7 is a tier 10 on the Russian tree. The IS-4 is the IS-7's more armoured, but slightly slower brother. It's the other tier 10 aside from the IS-7, and it branches from the KV3, KV4, and SD1, and it sports a 122mm gun as opposed to the IS-7's 130mm gun. Now the IS-4 is reliable, it's a brawler, it's short range, and it can be an excellent stopper tank and damage soak. A group of as few as 3 of these tanks can slow down your enemy's advance probably as much if not more than a group of mouses can. However, the way I see it, its main strength comes with its reliability. It's just an extremely reliable tank. You can rely on it doing a lot of damage, sustained damage, and being able to survive for long periods of time. It's good at sustainability in terms of health-wise. Now, its gun isn't that accurate, but it's reliable because it's got good rate of fire. For 440 damage. Additional modules, you're going to want to get vent and gun rammer as with most heavies, and then you should probably make a decision out of enhanced gun laying drive. It's got quite a long aim time, but a vertical stabilizer might be better, but all equipment is situational. In terms of consumables, for standard battles, I take small repair kit, small hill kit, and small fire extinguisher. But for kind of the big battles, like clan wars, always take a large repair kit. I would say always take combat rations, but that's also debatable. Now, it's not easily set on fire. That's an important thing to remember. It's very weak to arty. It's got very weak roof armor, but it's not easy to set on fire otherwise. So you might want to get an automatic fire extinguisher just out of principle. You might want to get a small hill kit, or you might want to get a removed speed governor, which will bring up to the same speed, if not quicker accelerating than the IS-7, so it can stay in a group of IS-7s and take point. Crew-wise, the IS-4 gets a commander, a gunner, a driver, and a loader. Now, I have brothers in arms on all my crew. That's just standard. It makes the tank tank basically 10 times better. There's no other way of saying it. 6 cents, because 6 cents is always useful. I like to know if I'm spotted because it's quite weak to arty. So you want to know if an arty is going to land a shell on the top of your head so that you can move in time to stop that from happening, or make it difficult for the arty. For the gunner, I have Deadeye or Snapshot. Now, Snapshot is good because it reduces the dispersion, which is quite high anyway. Deadeye, basically, that's going to be good if you're in a sustained firefight, because the more critical hits you do, the harder you are to kill, because you're still screwing over your opponents. Now, Adrenaline Rush on the loader, you're going to want, because there can be a situation where you're left below 10%, and you can still survive. Now, clutch braking and repairs on all the crew. Now, the reason why I say this is that the way you angle the armor in the IS-4, you're going to take a lot of track hits, and you need to be able to traverse quite quickly So you need your tracks and clutch braking helps. You need to traverse quite quickly to maintain the angle if your opponent decides they don't want to fight you on a corner and they're actually doing the smart thing and coming around to brawl you. Now, the main strength of the IS-4 comes from angling. In this picture, you see this is ideally how you want to angle the IS-4 to the enemy. Whether it's on the corner or whether it's side-scraped. Side-scraping is much better, but you can keep this on a corner facing your opponent if you need to have it in a firing line. Bear in mind, and I'm going to show this in a future clip, you have a massive weak spot on the lower plate. It's that black grill thing. You need to keep that hidden if possible, because then you're really difficult to pen. The entire idea behind the IS-4 is that the armour is actually deceptively thin. It's really thin, but the reason why it's so bulletproof as a tank is because of those angles. Like angled like that, anyone firing heat shells will bounce, like instantly bounce. No heat shell will pen you like that. Hair shells will also not do full damage if they hit you at that angle. Now we come on to weak spots, the most important part of the guide. Knowing your weak spots is like knowing your enemy, because you know where your enemy are going to try and hit, so you know what to hide. From the front, your weak spots in the IS-4 are the lower plate. You do not want to take shells there. Module damage is quite a possibility with taking it from the lower plate, but the reason why you don't want to be shot in the lower plate is because the opponents are going to pen you. And if they can't shoot your lower plate, there's a good chance your opponents aren't going to pen you. It's worth knowing you've got a driver's hatch which can be penned with some extremely high pen guns, particularly with heat shells if you're dead on. So you always want to have this angled. You don't want to have this dead on. Also, you've got turret weak spots. You've got hatches on the turret, and the turret roof is quite weak, so beware of arty and beware of face hugging with taller tanks. Now, this is from the side. From the side, it's very difficult to shoot an IS-4. The primary place they're going to try and shoot you is through the tracks, which normally tracks are spaced armor. If your opponent is able to get shells between your two track treads, there's a good chance they're going to be able to pen you. If they shoot the back of your turret as well, that's quite dangerous because that could be an ammo rack as well. The front of your turret is pretty strong, and you've got a layer of spaced armor above the tracks, so don't be too worried of showing your side, but you want to have it angled. You don't want to have it like this dead on, because that makes it much easier to get between your two track treads. Now, from the back, you can see it's a bit of a troll from the back as well. The amount of shells I have bounced off the back of the IS-4, just angling that slightly, is astonishing. Your opponents are going to be wanting to hit that lower grill. It's exactly the same weak spot as on the front, except it's on the back of the tank. They're also probably going to be trying to hit the back of your turret, which can bounce shots, but again, you can get ammo rack damage from that. I have rarely ever seen an IS-4 get ammo racked before, but it does happen sometimes. Also, your tracks are bulletproof, pretty much. Now, this looks like some kid scribbled on the screen. Now, bear with me. Now, this is what your opponent's going to see if you're angled like to the corner. As you can see, your lower plate is that weak spot. Next is the turret, and then maybe the side of the turret might pen through some shells. The corner of the front wheel, it's possible that someone might get a lucky hit that actually does damage on that. Also your driver's hatch. But take this into account. If there's like a small little mound of dirt in front of you, put your lower plate there. Don't let them shoot your lower plate. And the final one before we get into some footage, if you're looking down on an IS-4, this is what you're going to see. The lower plate at that point then becomes one of the strongest parts of the tank. So if you're aiming downwards, that angle is going to be so steep, don't try and hit. You're probably going to miss, and you probably won't pen. In fact, I guarantee you won't pen. The corner shoulder armor is possible from that angle because it's angled up slightly, so is the driver's hatch. But the turret, there is an Amarak spot at the top of the turret, so go for that. You can also easily pen the top of the turret if you're from an elevation. And there is not a thing that the IS-4 driver can do, even turning the turret quickly, which I suggest you do to hide the turret weak spots. Even that won't save the IS-4. Now, without further ado, let's get into some gameplay. So normally I do live commentary, but this is actually me doing commentary of replays. These are 3 or 4 replays. I'm not sure how many I'm going to put in yet. There are 3 or 4 replays, basically of me and platoon mate playing the IS-4. I've made a different client to what I'm used to because I've got a different crosshair. Yeah, I think I've got the US client open. Anyway, that's unneeded. So me and Ferb, who's my platoon mate, we're both in IS-4s. We're going into town, because we've got enough of our team going south. We had another game on this map where not enough went south, so we went south. I'll show that after. But we go into town. We're looking to see what we're going to face in town. Now, there's only 2 of us, but still we're quietly confident because we've got stuff on the hill. That's probably going to help us out. And we're pretty confident in our tanks. So at this point, I basically say on comms that we should hold in this line rather than the corner, because there's a lot of tanks that are going to be able to shoot us if we go around the corner like that. We get an IS-7 joining us, but it would appear that the enemy's platoon 1 have gone this way, so we've got to deal with that. So we do a side-scraped firing line, because Furby doesn't want to take back shots. The enemy platoon are advancing. So I've got myself side-scraped so that any shell that's fired at me will bounce. We take those sneak shots. Now Furby, you can see Furby on that wall is also side-scraped in a way that every shell will bounce. So the enemy will see this. Of course, if they shoot the lower plate, they're going to pen. But you'll be surprised how many people don't shoot the lower plate. So yeah, you'll see this. They'll probably shoot for. Actually, I think they can pen Furby. So that was a shot that completely bounced on me. Furby bounced another shot by angling. So yeah, you can see the contrast between I'm side-scraped and Furby's just angled off me. No one shoots the lower plate in these tanks. Which really surprised me, because that's the main weakness of any Russian tank. But no, I mean, the armour is deceptive. It's actually pretty thin, but the angles even give the impression that you can pen it. So that was we both took shots there. It was unavoidable, but we thought, well, we need to actually get close up to this IS-4 and IS-7s, otherwise our IS-7 is going to get killed. At this point, the IS-7 should be backing up and going for the medium and IS-8, and he does go for medium. We've got pressure on their heavies, so they can't really push. But our IS-4 didn't play smart. Got pinned by the IS-8. So it's just me and Furby left in town. And E4 is coming to help us, but it doesn't. He actually gets in the way more than helps us. So now this is interesting because we're two IS-4s basically lined up together, side scrape angled, against a platoon of two IS-7s and one IS-4. The IS-4, I'm willing to bet, is penning us because he knows where to pen. We're still reloading, we can't pop the IS-7. To actually switch positions there, because before Furby took the hit, I was on the lowest hit points, so I need to be at the back. By the way, this is bad target selection by me. So we should be taking out the lowest hit points, and you can see the hit points, they're kind of even. Now Furby got penned because he showed way too much of his side there. He wasn't angled side on. I go around the corner, I get penned on the corner wheel. Yeah, I feel bad, but I had to move on one of them. If Furby had bounced that shot, he probably would have taken one of the IS-7s out. I'm gonna get shot on the side by the IS-7 at this rate. So I actually loaded a heat shell and bounced on the front plate. Basically, from that position, I couldn't actually hit the lower plate. I went for the IS-7 because he was low health. I try for the rear miracle bounce. But basically, the two of us took out one of their tanks and left the other two on half health or lower. So yeah, that was a good brawl. Showed some of the angling techniques on the IS-4, and indeed actually the IS-7, because you could see the opponents angling the IS-7 well. But I chose this replay because we're in a platoon of two IS-4s. They've got an IS-4. All three of us were angling pretty well. So that was actually a really fun battle when we did it. Their IS-4 was pretty good in the IS-4, so yeah. Good challenge for us. Right, let's move on to the next replay. Right, let's get on to this second replay. I'm actually going to skip forward. IS-4s, we should be going into town on this map. I'm skipping forward to try and have enough time to squeeze in another replay. Right. Okay, so yeah, we arrive into town. I don't know why I was reloading. I think I'd taken a pot shot. So there's an E5 there. Didn't really bother to angle because, well, I just wanted the peekaboo shot there, and I didn't think he was aiming at me. 50B, he sees us. But pay attention to the way both me and Furby angle. Right. Okay, so at this point in the battle, I decide I'm gonna broad the mouse, and that our main focus should be take out the mouse before anything else, which proves to be a mistake later in the game when we should have taken it out last. So I tried to side scrape and angle against him, but he's actually penning my front plate, which means I'm not angling enough. I suspect he was using gold. At this stage, 50B is getting shots on Furby, but bouncing quite a lot. That's an entire clip by the 50B bouncing on Furby because he angled correctly. And none of those shells actually went for the lower plate. E5 could probably be our next target. So at this point we're 2 IS-4s against a mouse. He's going for Furby because Furby's lowest hit points. The problem is the mouse kind of held us up long enough to cause us to take a lot of damage from the rest of the team, but we do manage to take him out. I mean, I actually go for the VK, which surprised me because I should have gone for the 50B. Yeah, I've got. So the IS-4 has really decent rate of fire. It makes it really easy to brawl, particularly if you're platooned or grouped up in IS-4s.
Target acquired. Let's find another target. Target acquired. Target unlocked.
So what I should have done against that mouse was turn my turret quickly to avoid him hitting my weak spots. So right here, we're trying to go back, but it's in vain because the enemy team have already won superior mediums. Not just number, but ability, because all their mediums are pretty much still alive. That's the second time my turret's been taken out in this game. Though apparently I could still move it, so that was bizarre. But yeah, killed by the Bacciati. I was killed by the Bacciati constantly like the day I recorded these. So this is the second battle on Live Oaks. Okay, no, that's alright. Let's get back into this battle. Now, let me back it up a bit. Okay, so here we're going north to start with, but because we're looking south and seeing that one light tank is going south and that's it, we decide, well, we've got no choice. We have to go south, so we both turn around and go south. Anyway, enough of kind of technical issues. We're going to advance it a little bit. We did decide to hide in the houses for a bit, but then we decided not to. So despite their arty, we decided to go across the bridge and go sit on the corner because we have got a Leopard PTA and 2 light tanks which need the support, although that Bulldog took a massive risk there. Did not pay off. So I sort of left Furby behind here, unfortunately. Or straight to the corner. Now, I take a lot of damage here. I don't actually bounce that many shells. But what we do here allows our team to win, because as you can see on the minimap, they've already won north. So all we need to do is slow these guys down and allow our team to go on the cap, and also basically stop them from getting back. So me and Furby are both in We're not really in position to be able to support each other easily, but we're in position to basically stay alive. And the enemy team are pretty dumb because they split their forces. I'm trying to maintain the angle on the IS-7. Since the IS-7 is fired, I try and get the angle on the 5120, which is wrong because I go dead on. So I actually repair my tracks instantly. That was actually terrible play by me. Got killed very quickly. That's how not to angle the IS-4. I mean, I bounced some shells, but not anywhere near the amount I should have. And Furby's just holding them up here. RT takes them out. Their 5120 actually drowned. So yeah. Let's see if I don't think I can switch camera to Furby. We can see he wasn't perfectly angled. Oh, there we are. He wasn't perfectly angled on the T-34 rather. But that was enough. But our slowing power down the south stopped the enemy team getting back. I mean, the 50M is still there. T-34 is still there. So yeah, we basically win the game as a result of holding up all the tanks down south with 2 tanks. We did get some support in the end though. T-34, not really much chance of it penning. Although angling like that it might. Okay. Oh, he actually, yeah, he shot the lower plate. Of course, the IS-4's superior gun. There's no surviving that from a T-34. That's just a Wolfen trigger to go now. Now, for the replay, again I had to open this in the US server window. I struggle to open replays. For some reason I have to change between 2 different clients to open replays. So yeah, we get Corellia. Normal spawn for the IS-4s are kind of down south, but we decide we're going to be bold and think, okay, so we're going to have a look south. And yes, they do have much more mediums, but we can break them in the south if we're able to push north hard enough. And in 2 IS-4s, I mean, I can't think of what would actually go north that can really stop 2 IS-4s. The main concern will be the T-30. So let's advance forward. Still no resistance up here. So when I get to this rock, I do get spotted by the Centurion, and I decide I'm going to wait for Furby before doing the final push on their base. So try and get our tanks to move up on this side to give us better support. The 7-1 spotted us. That's the problem, because their team knows we're going in the back door already. To be honest, we haven't really got much holding the south at all now. All our mediums went to the centre, and I think these aren't really doing much. But we can still win the game by basically trying to force them to come back to base, trying to cap out, which is our goal. Our goal is pop the 3 RT and then sit in cap and try and force them back. If they don't come back, we'll cap out the game. So let's fast forward this bit. Was nervous going around this corner because I was expecting to get dirt by Artie. Turns out he's looking the other way. And he's making a run for it. Furby tries a shot. But I decided to give chase. Because I wanted to get him out of the game. And as a result of giving chase, I actually got that T-30 before he could be a problem. So I sort of yeah, I basically went point blank because I didn't fancy firing him a hole down. So yeah, I came off camp for that. Now at this point, we can't go back to camp because we'll have to show her back. So we have to angle and see how long we can last up here whilst our team counter push the south. So priority is here, the bat chat. So I'm keeping angled and I'm aiming at the bat chat. Furby's getting destroyed. This was actually a bad play for me to push the T-30 in the end, because basically we get annihilated by their force coming back, but you can't know that the enemy team are coming back already. So I'm trying to stay angled to as many tanks as possible. IS-7's reloading, so try and keep angled to the medium and the second IS-7. But by now the other IS-7's reloaded. Yeah, I managed to deflect one shot and I'll take one HE because he didn't know how to pen. Not low enough to kill the T-54. But we eventually go on to win this game through a south push. The reason for that is that in our IS-4s we were able to push the north, get on cap, take out the Artie, and then put real pressure on the enemy team to then come back. And at that point they have to come back, and we're in IS-4s. We have a lot of staying power, so we held them up for a good while our team were able to counter push the south. And by that point the enemy team are all back in their pace and we get map control. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this guide, and I thank you very much for watching, and I will see you quite soon because I'm already working on the IS-7 guide, which I'm hoping I'm going to get some tuned gameplay as well for you guys. So if you enjoyed it, please like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching.